If we're ready to go, then Sean, why don't you begin and ask the first question then of Matthew.
Okay. Aloha, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Sean. Nice to see you.
Same too. Same too. I just, first of all, want to say how much we appreciate you being part of the process, that running for any kind of seat is difficult. It's a lot of stress on the family as well as yourself. You have to put yourself out in the public view and answer tough questions, and it's not taken lightly. So we do appreciate you being part of that process.
Thank you.
So with that said, I have a question. Have you read the county charter?
Yes, I'm with the police commissioner commission
great.
at this time, and I've been on the planning commission, so pretty much, yeah, we have to learn the charter in every which manner, right?
Excellent. Okay, and so you're running for Ricky's spot at this particular point against two other folks. What is it that makes you the person that can fill Ricky's shoes?
11 years ago, I ran for Ricky's seat when he first ended his 10-year term. I mean, his 5 terms. I ran against Saul and some other candidates. Then 10 years ago, I ran against Ricky. Living on Lanai, I have noticed a lot of stuff that goes on because we are owned by a private owner. Standing up for the people who was afraid to speak up because I didn't work for the company. So I was able to do that. And to me, if I'm in the council, I'm not tied to the owner. So any decision making will be for the community and for Maui County. And that's what I believe drives me to run for county council. I have 17 grandchildren and a great-grandchild. My concern is their future. What will happen to them when I leave this earth? Will they have potential jobs available? Will they have security? Will they have to move? I don't want to see my children leave, my grandchildren leave. I have kept my children on Lanai and watched them grow up on Lanai. I have taught them everything that I have learned from my kupuna and how to respect the aina, how to respect people, and how to respect things that needs to be done. And that's the way I was raised up. I was never raised up with no concern of anybody, but just...
I appreciate that. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I've only got 5 minutes to ask you questions before I have to pass it on. And I do apologize. No, it's good. It's good information. So the second question is, who out of say the last 20 years in state or local government, can you name two people and take about 1 minute to say who it is that have been folks that have given you inspiration or people that you look up to?
In local government, I can't see. I mean, I've watched many local governments. I've watched people who have entered the system. I know in the past, Goro Hokama used to use us because the son and I used to play music. I got first introduced to him and his gang in the late 70s. And just watching what they do and listening to what they say and what they talk about politics, of which they don't really, mix it up with us or anything, but just watching them was pretty much motivating for me to see, okay, is this how the government really works? Are they making the right decisions? And other aspects of what's going on. But being in the union, being a negotiations committee chair, I have watched many, the governors that have come through. I have watched a lot of the state representatives that
I just ask if there are two people that you know. I mean, we don't need to go through full history. Just if you have two people that have, you can say yes or no, or it's this person. I'm just asking for names, if you wouldn't mind.
Okay, names. McKelvey would be one. I like him.
Okay.
Lynn DeCoit would be the other one.
So one question I do have besides that, there's going to be a county charter amendment dealing with a county manager.
Okay.
Do you believe in the county? Would you support a county manager amendment, or do you not?
The county manager would be the person that makes majority of the decisions besides the mayor, correct?
The county manager, it's good to look into what it would be a full professional, so that it wouldn't be the mayor just appointing whoever he wants to. They wouldn't be political appointees. It'd be people only based on their ability to do things professionally. It would be someone who would be non-political, who had very specific training in how to be a manager, and he would just do the work instead of it being, oh my gosh, am I concerned about how the political ramifications would be. It would be what's right, this is it, and he would be professional. The heads of departments wouldn't change every 4 to 8 years. They could stay for longer periods of time. So it would mean a steady state part of the whole thing, with only transition with the mayor and with the council. And we've only got about 30 seconds, but that's
yeah, I agree with the manager.
Okay.
I think that would be a great line where, because in the past there were appointees that were not qualified for the job, and I've seen it in the wastewater department. So I pretty much like the manager. Okay,
thank you. And I'd like to pass it on from here to Sylvia. Sylvia.
Bam.
Okay. Hi, Matthew. Thank you so much for coming. Aloha.
Hi, Sylvia.
Hi. Well, so it sounds like you have quite a bit of background experience, union committee chair, planning commission. Maybe you can go over more of your background, but I'm wondering, in the course of serving for those public positions, what issues did you come across that really ignited your passion, and how did you promote those points of view, and what was your experience working with people?
Majority of what my passion was 11 years ago, affordable housing was always on the table. Another thing was the Kula water meter thing, and it's still on the table. I have a brother-in-law that's still complaining that now he has to pay over $60,000 just to put in one water meter when it was less 11 years ago. The water situation in Maui is a concern, just like Lanai. But Lanai, we have what we call one aquifer. And without the plantation, we're hardly using a lot of water at this time. But with the hotels, they have swimming pools and they have all that stuff. So we're pretty much concerned about that. But that's what drives me, the affordable housing. Lanai had never, ever had affordable housing. And on Lanai, we never had Hawaiian home, and now we do. And I'm living in one. So David Murdoch did a great thing. He gave 50 acres to the Hawaiians, and they turned it over to Hawaiian homelands. They needed 25 homes on the property, which we have. So we still have that allotted land still available for the Hawaiian community. And that's the kind of stuff that really drove me into politics. Well, I don't like to use the word politics. I don't like to be a politician. I'm not a politician. I never was a politician, but that's what drove me, Sylvia.
Yeah, thanks for that. And you also mentioned that Lanai is owned by a private owner and that you're able to speak up about things because you're not tied to the owner. What types of things would you like to speak up about?
Well, a lot of things that goes on Lanai. There's a fear factor of jobs. They won't speak up on any issue. When we had David Murdoch and the windmill situation, they would never stick up and say, no, we don't want it, because they were fearful of their job. Myself and my cousin was the only one that, as Hawaiians, stood up. We went with the Hawaiian Legal Court, and with the help of one of our rich friends, he paid for every lawyer fee that we had. And through that, it pretty much opened the eyes of all these people, because eventually David, what he did, he sold it, he took the money, and he left. So that was the kind of things that we kind of showed the Lanaians, that if you guys are afraid of losing your jobs, then you will always be afraid to lose your jobs. You will never speak up, never in your worst day in life. But that's the kind of things that I stand up for. I'm not afraid to speak up. But that's why.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So, as a council member, is that one of the things, or what are the top things on your agenda as a council member that you would like to see?
Well,
We have 1 minute left.
Okay, I like to see the affordable housing go through. Right now, what's happening is the county made a deal with the landowner. The landowner is actually building the affordable housing, and that kind of gets to me because now the landowner has a say on the people who is actually buying the homes. It's not run by the county, and that's to me, it's a threat. It can be to the point where if you don't do it my way, you won't get a job. We've seen that before in the past, but that's just my opinion of what's happening. When Castle and Cook ran this place, my rent was only $25 a month, a 2-bedroom house, and now it's in the thousands. When you look at these employees, they cannot afford it. And then they actually buy a home, and now they're paying what? Maybe $1,500 for their mortgage, and their house is worth about $300,000. But the job means a lot to them, so they will never speak up because they will lose their home, they will lose whatever. And that's pretty much what I look at. And as a council member, I'm hoping that I can protect these citizens on Lanai, to fight for their rights, to fight for anything that concerns them. But that's what I stand for, Sylvia.
Thank you, Matthew.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Paul, would you like to speak next?
Sure, thank you. Matthew, you mentioned briefly about the aquifer that you have and the importance of water, and my question refers to that. Would you support the county asserting eminent domain over the EMI system in order to administer the public trust water resource for the food security necessities of our community?
I would, because it's Kuleana. Water has always been Kuleana. It was always free. The water is free. The only thing what we're paying for is the usage of their pumps and their processes. But if you look in the ancient Hawaiian times, water was free. It was free for everyone to utilize. It's life. Without water, there's no life. So yes, I would pretty much have I would support that, where the community has the control too.
So what would you do? Because again, in the county council, you're able then to affect what happens throughout the entire county. And what would you do about the upcountry water meters and the issues that have been going on for so many years, for, in some cases, generations?
Yeah, I know, a generation. It sounds like Hawaiian homelands. Hawaiian homelands was generation. People died and they still didn't get their lands. And it seems like the water meter situation might end up that way. If you don't get it now, then you'll never get it. Or if you want to get it now, it's going to cost you probably selling your children. I'm sorry, but to get that, because I remember 11 years ago, in fact, 21 years ago, I've heard that. And that was the question, that keeps coming up on the table when I first ran about the water meter, and the water situation and all those stuff. And I couldn't understand why it was never, ever solved. I couldn't understand why. I mean, as years go by, it costs more, just like affordable housing. As years go by, it costs more. It's not affordable.
So what is your position then with Mahi Pono and A and B claiming water access and distribution for a large portion of our community?
Well, I know that Mahi Pono and A and B has taken water from Hana, east side. They brought it from here, through the sugar plantation time and era. The sad thing about it, they still control it. And they're still making, they're supplying the need, but I don't understand how a company can control water. I don't. Like I said, it's Kuleana. They shouldn't be able to control it. And the state, I don't know what the state is doing about it, because I know they have control to do whatever they can with it. But I do believe that the council member needs to get together and start figuring out how we can solve this problem, get it together with the state, and all those representatives and bring the people's needs to the table. Because right now the people are not being heard. How many years did Hana had to fight for their water to finally get water? K&I. I mean, it took years.
Right.
You know, and it costs money.
Exactly. So again, what I hear is that you would really do your best to support water rights for the community and really look at this whole issue of ownership by A&B and Mahi Pono in terms of water distribution. Is that correct then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get them off the table.
Let me ask another question then.
Okay.
Since Maui residents pay the highest electric rates in the nation based on electric being provided by a private corporation, MECO, and Kauai pays the lowest rate in the nation based on the electric being provided by a community cooperative, what are your thoughts about supporting efforts to changing our electric distribution system for a private corporation to a publicly owned and operated cooperative?
I mean, publicly owned, everybody would benefit. Right now with private, I don't know if you guys heard, but Ellison tried to buy Hawaiian Electric. I mean, he went out and actually asked the company that he wanted to buy them out. On Lanai, the power plant used to belong to Castle and Cook. Murdoch turned it over to Maui Electric. He actually would have owned that plant on Lanai. But because it turned over to Maui Electric, he loses it because David Murdoch didn't want to go through all of the hassles of, taking care of that place because he had no machinists, he had nobody to really run the engines and stuff. But to me, to have the public really own it, it is cheaper. I have friends on Kauai that said, man, how much do you pay for electric? And when I didn't have my Voltaic, I was paying almost $300 to $400 a month. And this is on Lanai. So I can't imagine, because my question was the windmills when they first started on Maui. I asked them, are you guys benefiting from the windmills? Because I was on the planning commission when we went up there. And a lot of the people said no. So it kind of concerns me about what's going on, just like our solar farm. Our solar farm is just for the hotel.
So this is interesting in terms of then our electric, and I hear that you are ready and willing to support then this more of a community operative system, cooperative
Yes, I am.
system.
Yes.
Great. Bruce, you want to go next with your questions?
Bruce, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
You gotta unmute. I gotta unmute.
Thank you.
Mr. Technician.
Ask the sound engineer to unmute.
I thought I was on mute.
All right. Yes. So currently in the county council, they can stay in for 4 terms, sit out for 1, and go in for another 4 terms, like Ricky Hokama. How do you feel about a charter amendment that would remove the word consecutive and say you can only run for 4 terms, period?
I'm all for that, because you know what happened in the past when Goro Hokama then was in there? They ran for 30 years. They controlled the council. The mayor had no say. And that opened my eyes. Why vote for a mayor if the county council is running everything? It's almost like paying paying taxes to pay somebody to be there, to be told that the county council will only allow you to do what you need to do. But I am all out for that. I have always looked for that. Even in the federal government, even in the state government, I don't think anybody should sit there for 30 years. I think they should fill up their term and get out. Next. We need new minds, new people in government. Next. That's my statement. And watch me. If I do get in, there will be next. I'm not running for another term.
How about this one? How about a charter amendment to deal with our district voting? Because right now, the whole island votes for each person. And you have to have a lot of money in order to run for the whole island. How would you feel about districts, either, dividing the county into 3 districts or into 9 districts?
I'm all out for that. If you guys recollect, way back when Goro was running and he had Bob Harrer running against him, he felt that he was going to lose because Lanai was actually voting, was the voting entity for Lanai. It did happen in the past. Goro actually made this happen, where the whole Maui would vote because he's strong in Kahalui, he's strong in Wainuku. We know that. So Lanai, I would go all out for that. If we could have district voting, then at least we know that who is going into the office of the Lanai seat was presented by the Lanai voters. That's how we've always felt. You know, and a lot of my friends in Maui said, well, it's not fair. Hawaiian, they call me Hawaiian. They're Hawaiian, that's not fair. You know, all the Lanai guys vote for you, but you don't get the seat. I said, well, it's open voting.
How would you feel? Because in order to have the equal vote, you have to have equal districts of equal size. So Lanai would either have to be thrown in with Lahaina, or there's also ideas about having 3 districts. So there'd be 3 people from 3 districts rather than 9 districts of equal sizes. How would you feel about those concepts?
I'm not sure. I cannot say that. I can't be sure about that because if Lahaina is a bigger district, then they'll still vote us out. So it doesn't matter in any essence to me, because I know it goes by population, and we don't have the amount of people. We only got 3,500. It never grew any bigger. It's still 35. The man wants to make it 6,000, but I don't think we have the water resources. But if we do have 3 districts, we need to see if it does work first. But if we do this in a charter, then it'll stay there. And if it doesn't work for me and Lanai and Molokai, then we're still in the same boat. So I'm pretty much up in the air about that.
Okay. Big issue last election was affordable housing, but this election, the big issue is going to be people's economy have been destroyed. What are your ideas and plans on how to, reestablish people's economy, particularly those on the lower economic end of the spectrum?
Well, the lower side, my daughter is a waitress. She works for Pulama at Four Seasons. I've watched her struggle. If there's no tourism, then she don't get paid. If there's no tips, she get minimum wage, and I've watched her. And she's got 7 kids. So we're pretty much very helpful on her part. We do what we need to do to help her. The economy right now, to me, agriculture was a part of it. And I still believe that diversified agriculture would work in Maui. On Lanai, Ellison actually has a hydroponics agriculture going on, but it's on the test stage. It's all with University of Hawaii. So whatever vegetables they grow, they either give it away or they throw it away. So right now it's testing. He has hired a handful of people who wants to go into the agriculture part. I know tourism in Maui is a great, it's not a great thing. It's boom. To me, it's overpopulated. When we come to Lahaina, man, we barely can get cars. We struggle to get back to the boat because there's so much traffic. So for me to push for an economy, I think what the council needs to do is to get together and really think about, instead of this 5 against 4 or 5 against 3 or 6 against 3, what they need to do is come together and start putting their heads together and start figuring out what is best for Maui County. What do we do to promote Maui County? How can we get the economy going without tourism, or add to that and lessen tourism in Maui County? Because a lot of times when I watch, I usually turn it off because there's too much arguments. They never can come together. And I understand their point. Everybody in my union, we always agree to disagree. But at the end, that we don't go behind each other's back and say, well, I never vote for that. We come 100% and say, okay, we'll vote for that. And that's how I was always taught. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. And with that, I will pass it to, it looks like Daniel's next, huh?
Daniel, how you doing, Daniel?
Hello, Matthew. Doing good, brother.
How you doing, man?
Doing good. Just, staying healthy in this lockdown situation, seeing how it all plays
Lanai
out.
is pretty good. Lanai is pretty good. We don't have it yet, so
I see that. Yeah,
yeah,
keep it
it's
that way.
pretty
I'm
good.
glad you guys are safe out there. Yeah, so I've got some good questions for you. I'm going to start with this one. As a public representative, it is a duty to face the truth and to act righteously. These islands reflect the lowest voter turnout in the United States.
Yeah.
On May 15th, 2019, Dr. David Kianusai gave a presentation to the Maui County Council, evidencing the illegal overthrow of Queen Liliuokalani in 1893 and showing clear violation of domestic and international law with the ongoing illegal United States military occupation of the Kingdom of the Hawaiian Islands.
Yeah.
As a candidate for public representation, how do you rectify handling the truth of Dr. Sai's presentation, as well as the works of Keamoku Kapu, Henry Noah, Amelia Gora, Pampikana Hele, Leon Su, Dr. Josias, Madame Ruth Bolame, the Ko Hawaii Paiaina office in Hilo, etc.? How do you rectify the compliance of the law in restoration of occupied lands?
When I first heard about it was when he came to Lanai and he presented himself about the occupation, the illegal occupation. A lot of times in school, we never were taught that, right? My grandmother was totally ashamed of me naming my children Hawaiian name. I mean, she actually chopped me to pieces because she said it's shameful. You should not name your children in Hawaiian. And I had to ask her why, and she said, because they cannot pronounce it. My theory is it's not my fault. I'm a Hawaiian. If they can't pronounce it, then learn the language. And that was my concept. With this occupation, illegal of occupation, when Kianusai presented it on Lanai, I grabbed a hold of it and I started thinking, okay, this is the beginning of the first process. So how do we continue on? Where does it go from then, from when he presented his thesis until today? Will he continue to go to the UN and continue to seek the overthrow and to actually bring back the illegal overthrow of the lands that was stolen from the Hawaiians? For me in the council, because I've also heard him say that if you're in the government now, that you're a war crime person. So it kind of got to me at that point. It got to me. Because that woman in Big Island, she actually brought that to the council and they that. You know what I mean? I follow these things because I'm putting my life on the line. If I am a war criminal, then I'll get shot. But I will stand there for my children and I will present that side of the issue and also the council side of the issue. I will present it. And that's the thing. I will go where the truth lies. And that's where I will go. And that's the way I stand. I've always been truthful. I've always told my grandkids and my kids, if you're not truthful, I will know it because you cannot look at me in the eyes when you speak to me. And that's how I go. My grandparents taught me this. My Hanai mom taught me this. She taught me the culture and how to be truthful. So that's my stand on that. I will work on both sides. And knowing that if I do win, I'm a war criminal. According to Kianusai.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of that information to seek through, and especially the catch-22 situation.
Yeah.
Might be a war crime, but you still decide to run.
I still decided to run. Yes. Because my concern is my grandkids. I know if they punish me, that's fine. I'll probably be dead by the time it does come through. So, but for my grandkids, I want to see them understand the process of the U.S. government and what Kianusai is trying to do. So I usually sit with them when we talk about this process, and I wouldn't have run. They made me run. My kids, my wife, and my older grandchildren. They told me, Dad, Papa, we have no representation. We're struggling. We need you to be boisterous. So that's why I'm running. And then I laid it on the line, said, with the Hawaiian Kingdom and stuff, that I am a war criminal, right? He said, well, Papa, if you do what's right in the council, when things come to pass, and then it does come back to the Hawaiians, at least we know you stood up for both ways. So that's why I'm running this then.
Okay. Aloha, Matthew. Thank you for that. I'm going to turn the question back around over to Sean.
Aloha. Okay, Matthew, you know, Lanai has a very unique, I definitely hear the fact that you're connected in with Lanai, and, you know, the question comes, the people in Hana, I'm an East Side boy. So that's the uniqueness of our county, is it's so diverse. And what kind of experience do you bring to my district, or say to Kihei, as far as your understanding of other parts of the island in our unique Kahalui, Wailuku, the specific, you know, there are a lot of challenges. Up country, you have places now where they've allowed CBDs to be put on agricultural land, and it's being done right next to where keiki are growing up with lights and the smells and the different things. And sooner or later, when our state decides to go and make it legal, which sooner or later they probably will, that operation then becomes guns and overhead flying things and whatever. What are you going to do? What are your thoughts as far as that industry here, and our you know, what the state legislation has done and what we need to do as a county to ensure that these type of operations can be done, but done agriculturally? And it just, you know, your thoughts on that side of things.
I think I missed something. What?
As it stands right now, anywhere that if I wanted to grow CBD as a crop, and perhaps marijuana in the future, all I'd have to do is have an agricultural plot, which is 2 acres. I can do it in the middle of a community. I can do it right next to a child's bedroom. I can do it anywhere I want to, with the way the state is now set up with their rules. I think there's, you know, I would like for you to speak to that, and what you know, as a county council member, just what your thoughts are regarding land use and the need for our laws to be defined regarding the use for CBD and marijuana and hemp growing.
I know the state has run over the CBD situation and stuff. But as a county council member, I think everybody should get together and start actually lobbying the state to see if we can get it out of the community into farmland. Because I know that it's locked down. I've read about it, I've heard about it, that their CBD growing areas is locked down. They have security, they have to have security, they have security locks and so forth. But is it the right, I mean, is it the right atmosphere for younger kids? I'm not sure about that. I don't know about the parents, because parents has a lot of things to do with that and stuff. Because I know that we do have some people here who do have the card. They cannot get to the pharmacy, so they grow. You know, and I know the growers, and I keep telling them, please, if you guys are growing, please keep it out of sight of the kids, because people will steal it.
Sure, what I'm talking, you know, that's 5 or 7 plants. We're talking about 10,000, 20,000, 100,000 plants on a 2-acre area, with all of the areas with that. This is starting to happen in our state. Big Island's talking about it. Kauai, I have friends. It's happening here on Maui, where it's starting to impact local areas, because if agriculture is agriculture, well, up to now it's been fine. You got pigs, you got chickens, you got whatever. But when you're working with this kind of thing, you're moving into a different area. So I was trying to see what your thoughts were as far as this particular agricultural utilization, and if this is something you would keep an eye on, and what your thoughts are, you know, from that side.
Well, I think we should keep our eye on it, because it will grow. I mean, it will grow. Right now, if you're talking about 10,000 plants, you can't imagine for somebody having more acreage to grow more plants. And if they're legally licensed by the state, it's pretty much a concern. But it's also, if the medication does work, that's fine. But I don't think it should be in any localized where there's housing projects or towns or whatever. I think it should be on the outskirts.
Okay,
but as a council member, I will watch this. Yeah.
Okay, appreciate that. So
Thank
from
you.
that, I'm going to turn it back over to Sylvia.
Hey.
Thank you, Matthew.
Hi, Sylvia.
Earlier, you said to Paul that you like McKelvey and Linda Coit,
Yeah.
and I had heard that Linda Coit is someone who is leasing farmland to Monsanto. I don't know if you know if that's true, and I was
So I
wondering.
changed my mind then.
Say again.
Go ahead, Sylvia.
If that's true, and how do you feel about pesticide use? Were you in support of the GMO moratorium? What was your stance on that? And how do you feel about regulating and monitoring the testing fields and the things to do with pesticide use on Maui?
Well, I think it should be regulated. I've never been an advocate for any use of Roundup and any other chemicals, because Lanai, when the plantation was going, I used to work for the planting department, and I used to see a lot of chemicals. I mean, from fertilizers to poisons, I mean, to fungicides, insecticides, herbicides. We dealt with that every day until the plantation went down. In high school, when we were working in a plantation, we used to have to go spray gang. They never gave us masks. They gave us rubber gloves and rubber boots. And yet our clothes was just regular clothes. So you know these chemicals are soaking into you. You're walking in pineapple field lines, spraying in front of you. So as you spray, you walk through it. I'm never an advocate for that. And I didn't know that Lynn Decoy actually is renting out or leasing out property to Monsanto. I am totally against that. Totally. I don't believe in that stuff. My friends on Kauai, they continuously complain about it, you know, from the dust and stuff. Sometimes I think Kihei's one is coming to Lanai, because they have one there down in Kihei, the cornfields and stuff. With this trade wind, I believe it's coming to Lanai. You know, with Molokai, when we get that Oahu wind, I believe it's coming to Lanai, because we can notice it with our growth in our keawe trees and the land around us. We notice those things. So since Lindy Coit is in that, well, scratch Lindy Coit. Aloha no, kako, I see you later. How's it, Walter Reedy? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's over. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I want to make sure that those are the facts, but that's what I keep hearing about her. And along those lines, especially now with the coronavirus outbreak, we're really looking at the overall economy in the islands and how can we diversify the economy and specifically grow more of our own food. Do you have any ideas about how to encourage more diversity, to encourage food independence, and how we can support local organic farming on Maui?
You know, I'm all out for local organic farming. Let me tell you. I have a friend here who grows lettuces, tomatoes, vegetables, and all that stuff, and it's all organic. My kids, my daughter is now doing that also. We are doing that also. And local households, if they have enough property, would be nice for them to grow their own. But if the companies, whoever own lands, would be willing to donate the land and have people do this, I think that would be a great asset, because it will stay in Hawaii. Everything that is grown will stay in Hawaii. And then that's what we look at. On Lanai, we have this hydroponics farm that goes on. We don't know what's going on in that place because it's locked down. They don't let anybody go in. We have people who does have acreage that are growing. They are growing organic foods and stuff, which is a great asset. We look forward to that. Because going in the stores, since this pandemic, I don't go to the store. I barely want to go anywhere because it's a pain in the behind to be standing 6 feet away from somebody when we don't have the coronavirus. But, you know, that's my opinion. It's not theirs, it's mine. And I've always told, you know, everybody, if we need things, let's trade. Let's ask the people. If they have vegetables, I'll give you fish. I'll give you deer meat. I'll give, lobsters is out of season, sorry. I'll give you crab. and whatever else we can harvest from the ocean and the land. So that's the kind of stuff. But I do wish that the county council and the state get together and figure out how can we get organic farming going. It's another economy. It's another thing. It's jobs for those who don't have jobs. I see homeless people probably could work in those areas. You know, I've always given to them. I've given to any school that needs money for sports or anything at Walmart. I cannot pass them up. I'm stuck.
Thank you. I guess we just have another minute left.
Yes.
To me, it seems like it's just not very affordable to be a farmer on Maui. And it seems like we're going to have to subsidize farming in some way, especially for the organic local folks. And along those lines, too, it seems like the local farmers also need help with water, which you brought up before. And are there any specific policies that would help you with how would you prioritize who gets the water?
I think farmers should get the water besides the community. If they're growing to support the economy of the county, then I think they should be able to receive water. Like how, I mean, I'm hoping they don't have to fight as much like how Kenai and Hana had to fight just to get water for their kalo farms. I mean, I have families down there. The Hueos is my family. You know, my mom is a Hueo. My grandmother is a Kekahuna. My father is a Napaipai from Lahaina. You know, and I just carry the name Mano because he was Hanai'd by his father's sister, who was married to a Mano. So right now we are the only legal Manos that live in the county of Maui and in Honolulu. But we need to prioritize. It needs to be a priority. I noticed there is no prioritizing of what is most necessary within the county of Maui. I don't know why that's so. But I think everybody should get their head together and start prioritizing what is important for the county of Maui.
Thank you very much, Matthew.
Thank you for your time. I do have one very quick 30-second question. There's been talk here locally, especially since the pandemic, and sometime before that, is the possibility of there being a Maui County Department of Agriculture. Will we start taking care of our own agricultural thing? It's actually made as part of the administration and given funds so that we actually start our own Department of Education. What do you feel about that in 30 seconds or so?
Well, you know what? I feel that should be an office run by the county. And I think that the county, whoever runs that office or whoever is appointed to be director of that office should consider the fact that if agriculture is going to be a part of Maui, then there needs to be enough funding to support that agricultural department to support the farmer.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's how I feel.
Perfect. Paul, I'm going to pass it on to you.
Great. Matthew, what are your thoughts about the county's management handling and of the EPA findings, repair, and remediation guidelines from the sewage leaks from Lanai sewage treatment injection wells into our oceans, reefs, and beaches?
You kind of went break up, Paul.
Yeah, you're breaking up, Paul. You're going to have to get rid of everything on your computer again. Just keep this on. Yeah, you're breaking up. We heard about every 3 words.
So let me just repeat it then. Hopefully I come across clear. What are your thoughts about the county's management, handling, and defiance of the EPA findings, repair, and remediation guidelines for sewage leaks from the Lanai sewage treatment injection wells into our ocean, reefs, and beaches?
Paul, it's Lahaina, right? Not Lanai, right? I think you said Lanai, so.
Oh, no. I meant Lahaina.
Okay. Well, I worked for the wastewater treatment facilities for quite some time. I started off as a plant worker, became an operator, and then became a supervisor for the Lanai wastewater treatment plant. The treatment plant on Lanai is, number one, we're just we're just ponds. We don't treat anything. Pulama Lanai, they treat, but they treat with UV lights because of the fish propagated up at Koele Lodge. And that's why they don't use any chlorine in their treatment. Lahaina, I know they use chlorine a lot. They use a lot of chlorine to treat the amount of water that they do treat. The problem with chlorine is that it does leave some sort of what you call chemical in the water. And that chemical does cause some problems. And with the leakage, Lahaina is sea level. So any wet well that is dug, and if they're dumping 10 million gallons of water per day within that wet well, because it's sea level, it will go into the ocean ground table, which is the brackish water. And from there, it'll leak out into the ocean. I know that, oh, Sylvia, what happened? I lost you, Paul.
You're still fine. Go ahead. I'm just listening to you.
Somebody just stepped out for a second. That's all. It's all good.
Oh yeah, I know. Okay. Okay. Anyway, Paul. I know there's been lawsuits that went through with the county and stuff, and the sad thing about it is when they first made it law by the federal government to create treatment plants and stuff, they never realized the growth. They never realized that these waters should be used for irrigation instead of putting it back into the wet well. They didn't understand that Lahaina one day will grow. Kihei will grow. There'll be a lot of tourism and hotels that will be growing, people buying homes and stuff. What they didn't do and what they should have done was when they ran the sewer lines out as far as they could, they should have ran above of that a reuse pipeline where that everything could be used so that they could use it, which they never did. So now they're stuck with the wet well. And that's a sad, sad situation. And then now I hear they spent a couple $1 million. They got couple millions of dollars to revamp the Lahaina plant with UV instead of using chlorine. I don't know if when I get in, if whenever I get in, will it be solved? But since I know wastewater, I probably would be one person that can sit with them and figure out how we can really solve this problem and get it done with all the finances that has been going to them, if it's being misused or whatever. But that's my answer, Paul.
So thank you for that. I appreciate, and also your insight that you have and experience in dealing with this whole wastewater issue. Certainly, it's not only what's happened in Lanai, but also the other areas where we have our sewage treatment plants on the island. So it's something that certainly as a county council, that's going to be requiring, I think, attention and focus, and who knows, it may shift quite a bit with not having the amount of tourism that we have.
Yeah.
The next question I have is around your involvement in the police commission, and my first question is, how long have you been involved with the police commission, and what have you personally done or have seen taken place to support the relationship with the community and the police department while you were part of that commission?
Well, there's some things that we can and cannot talk about in the police commission because of things that has come against the chief or against any officer. But I can say for this as a fact, it's my opinion, but not my opinion, but it's what I've seen so far. What comes on the table, we go through it and we try to have them investigated. And that's what we do. And we always try to get what the chief got to say and all his assistant chiefs to see what they are doing with their officers on the street, especially at this time and at this moment. I know some are just, I guess some of them, you can say they're above the law, which I disagree with. I don't like to see that kind of actions going on. But we, as the police commission, only deals actually with any complaints come in. We cannot tell the police chief or his assistant chief how to run his department. So what we see, we make suggestions, especially if things come in, complaints and stuff. and we asked for an investigation. So with that, whatever resources we get after that, then we decide on that. But that's what we do.
How long have you been on the commission?
I've been there for almost 7 months.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, I just got appointed. Actually, I just got appointed, actually. So we lost 2 members, and on the 29th, we have a meeting, same as you, Zoom, to discuss some issues. So.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you,
Matthew. Paul. And Bruce, why don't you go?
Yes. Two-legged question. One is about what is your solution for the affordable housing crisis on Maui and Molokai and Lanai? And 2, what is your solution to the homeless population, also called the shelterless population in Maui?
Yeah, a lot of them is on Maui, yeah. So Lanai, we don't have any, like Molokai. Lanai, the landowner has been really strict about the homeless. They actually escort them back off the island or send them back to the mainland. Affordable housing, to me, should have been prioritized a long time ago. It should have been. It's been on the table so long that I've watched prices from 160,000 go up to 500,000. And on Lanai, that's unreachable price unreachable. I mean, to get the loan itself is unreachable. And now with this pandemic and stuff, I'm just grateful that Larry Ellison is continuously paying his workers, but somebody got to pay the rent. Yeah. So if you pay your workers, you get your money back, correct? And that's how I see it. So if you pay your workers, you'll get your money back. Somehow they got to pay the rent. They got to pay the utilities, which is the water and everything else belongs to him. So somehow he's getting the money back. But to me, affordable housing should have been prioritized. They should have looked at it very carefully and figure out where in the county, who needs it really, and how, and who can afford it. I know the mayor, Arakawa, did that on Lanai, and he said, well, Lanai, we don't know if we can have enough people who are going to actually buy the housing. Well, make it cheaper. 260,000, 270,000. But the problem with that is it cannot be cheaper because every material comes from the barge. So by the time we get it, the price goes up. Then you don't have contractors on the island that can do it. So now you got to get bidders to come in. For Lanai, it's ridiculous. Like in Maui, hey, Home Depot, Lowe's, pick up the material, let's build it. Lanai, we cannot do that. So that's why the pricing on Lanai is pretty high. But they should prioritize this in the county council. They should be a heads up. Let's go. People need housing. Our homeless, let's find them jobs. Put them in the agricultural department area. Let them work. I've met families, parents and kids. They cannot afford it because the rent is too high and both of them are working. You know, where's the solution? How can we clean this up? How can we get them on? My mom lived in Waianae. I went down there on the beach and I seen this happen. And I sat with families and talked to them about why they're not in home. They can't afford it. They cannot afford $1,500 for a studio. They cannot afford a 2-bedroom house for over $2,500. They cannot. It's ridiculous. The pay that they're getting paid, they're not getting paid enough. Plus, if you pay for medical, taxes, and everything else, food, you won't have nothing for your kids.
Just to let you know, Matt, the average cost of something selling here on the Maui is $825,000.
Oh, shoot. I guess if you guys on the 8, then ours must be almost $1 million. I mean, that's a lot of money that we're talking about. That's the only scenario I'm looking at. How can we solve this affordable housing to make it affordable? Because it's not anymore. It's not. I used to talk to the old plantation guys who used to work here on Lanai. They bought the house for $12,000, but they were just making 5-10 cents an hour, right? That was in the 1950s, late 40s. They were only getting paid 5 cents an hour or 10 cents an hour, and yet they bought the homes for $1,200.
I
until
appreciate
today.
it. Matt, we've only got about 5 more minutes. So
Okay.
if anyone has literally 2 questions of 2 minutes each, Paul, do you have something?
No, I was going to shift it over to Daniel, and that'll be, I think, our last question. that
All
we
right,
have.
excellent.
Daniel!
And also Alberta, Bruce, Alberta's waiting on, so if you want to bring her in shortly after then, okay?
Hey, Matthew.
Hey, how's it, Daniel?
So how do I pronounce your last name? Do you have an Okina in your name at all? Or is
Actually,
it
Mano, yeah.
Mano?
Yeah.
Mano.
It's the shark, yeah. I know, because the
Like the
Mexicans
shark.
call me hand.
All right. You said that you have kahuna in your family. I wonder if I mean, is there, what was that name, if you don't mind me asking?
Ke Kahuna.
The pie.
Ke
What is
Kahuna.
that? Ke
My
kahuna?
grandmother was Esther Ke Kahuna.
Esther Ke kahuna. All right.
Yeah,
Very curious.
K-E-K-A-H-U-N-A.
All right, mahalo. Okay,
Yeah.
so you spoke on the transparency and the safety issue of Lanai. David Murdoch, private owner of it over there. With people scared to speak out about their jobs, it seems like an issue that is unfair for the community over there. With you speaking up as you have in the past, and in the positions that you have covered, that you have been involved in, what could you do to assist in having more transparency and safety for people to actually say something?
And we've only got about 1 minute, Matthew. I'm so
Okay.
sorry to make it short.
Okay, so if the transparency part of it, I think that I probably can hold a meeting with his people on the land, who's running his business here, and have them to tell the people truthfully, instead of bending the truth and doing whatever. I mean, that's a transparency that I'll be seeking, because I believe the people needs to be represented so that they don't get punished. So I'll be the voice for them. I'll take the jerk. I'll take whatever necessary to make sure that these people get a clear understanding of what will affect their jobs. And that's what I stand for. Because I have 2 kids that work for them. One is in IT tech. My daughter's in IT tech. She the one who got me this computer, this laptop for $1,900 while I paid for it. But she's in IT tech, so she does whatever I do.
Like, give us
So
one other
I'm
quick
sure
question.
you've seen-
You've got 19 people there that are in your family, and you've got your 2 people working for him. The whole problem we've had here is the blowback. So you go up and do things, always in the back of your mind going to be, is my daughter going to lose her? Is my grandson's whatever? So how can you be free if you've got all these connections that it's like old school, like it used to be with A and B?
Being in the union, I have learned contracts. Learning contracts protect them of their rights working for the company. And as a union representative for United Public Workers, who's now in trouble with our director, which I retired from it, so it's their own Kuleana. But because of that, I can protect them according to law. And that's why I can speak up for them.
Okay,
because
mahalo.
I know the HRS.
I appreciate it. Paul, you want to close out?
Yes, I will. Matthew, thank you so much for participating. Also, if you have any final words, and also if you could tell the viewers your website, and if they're interested, how they can support you and provide donations. So if you could provide that information for us, and then we'll close out, and we'll get Alberta DeJetley will be next.
We have about a minute.
I just want to thank you guys for having me on this interview. Denzel Washington once says, people who run for politics, they're either doing it as a living, okay, or are they doing it for a purpose? I'm not doing this for a living. A person that does it for a living will go full term. If I feel that I'm not any use anymore, being on the county council, I will step down and let somebody else take my place. If I find myself being steered away from what I believe in, I will step down, because my grandkids, I got to face my grandkids, my kids, and my community. That's how I've always been. And I've ran by that, by Denzel Washington saying, you know. And if you guys want to really get into my website, it's Mano4 countycouncil.org. That's my website. We're still trying to put in some stuff because my son, I have a son in Oahu. I wanted to get him in a picture, which I can't. I wanted a family photo. But I finally got a picture of him and his kids together because they're separated, him and his wife. Those are the kids that I foster, my grandkids. I foster them. And I've taken care of them for 2 years now. And we've been through some court cases and we've been through a lot of stuff. So my goal, I live to make sure that my grandkids will have a future in the county of Maui.